In front of me right here is probably a pretty run-of-the-mill, plain Jane looking AK, but don't let the looks fool you. This is probably one of the best performing AKs on the market right now. Howdy folks, it's Boaz here with Airsoft GI, and today we're going to be taking a look at the newest offering from Arcturus in their new lineup of AKs. This is the new Arcturus AK12 PE. Wait, hold on. PE. PE, not PP. Okay, anyway, personally, as you guys may know, I'm not a huge fan of the Com Block, Russian Mayo AKs, but definitely still has its place out here in the airsoft market and also in the real firearms market as well. Not super crazy looking, not super cool looking, but under the hood is where things get really spicy, like what I said before. Probably the best performing AK out of the box from a factory, so let's get into it. Going over the externals right off the bat, the Arcturus has made their AK12 out of stamped steel, so super solid, super true to life, I suppose. It does add a bit of heft to it. The barrel and the gas block system is steel as well, but you got a lot of polymer on this gun because it's a modern AK. You know, the AK12 is supposed to be really modern. So you have a polymer handguard with Picatinny rails up here on the top. On the side you have some metal Picatinny inserts over here, and you got a molded in Picatinny rail on the bottom for, you know, vertical foregrips, grenade launchers, what have you. Well, I think what's very interesting though is that on the top of the disc cover it is railed on the top, so you can mount, like what I've shown here, an optic on the top without having to buy an aftermarket accessory for it. But another really interesting thing is, like, it's like an almost monolithic top rail, like they really want it to be, but because of the AK design you can't. Another fun thing to note is this rear sight over here. I know it's very tempting for a lot of people to put the rear sight of the AK12 up here on the top where the handguard is, but that's actually not where you're supposed to mount it. You're supposed to mount it here on the rear. So like it kind of wants to be like an AR, M4 kind of thing, and that's also reinforced by a nice metal buffer tube with the AK12 stock, which is retractable, and also it folds because it's an AK. Over here on the bottom you have a very ergonomic, nice polymer pistol grip, and you have a very nice polymer AK12 magazine here on the bottom. But other than that, everything else is pretty much a standard AK as far as fire controls and the way that you use it. It's very much familiar if you're an AK user out there. The first thing that I noticed when I picked up the AK12 PE for the first time is how solidly built this AK is. Like, there's very little wobble or play with any of these components. Like, even the polymer handguard is so like rigidly stuck onto the AK12 that it feels like it's one piece part of the gun. And the only thing that I noticed that was pretty wobbly is the the dust cover here on the top. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like ever so slightly a tiny bit of wobble on the top, but Arcturus did reach out to us saying that they are currently working on fixing that issue. It's not really a big issue, but they're still fixing it for the final production model. This model, you see it right in front of you right here, is a pre-production press model that they gave us to use for the review. However, for the production model, it's going to be even tighter, like even tighter tolerances with their external build quality. So they're going to rival the quality of other companies like E&L, LCT. I think they're really gunning for that top spot right there. So that's very good to see from Arcturus. After going over the externals on the AK12, you might come to the conclusion that it's a pretty run-of-the-mill AK, and I'd say externally, you're right. However, one feature that I really love about the Arcturus AK12 is how easy and simple it is to remove the top dust cover. Now, with a lot of traditional airsoft AKs, it is pretty tough to take apart and put back together the dust cover. However, with the AK12 from Arcturus, all I need to do is remove the captured detent pin from the front trunnion, and you could just pretty much slide the rear hinges of the dust cover off and it pulls right out. And to put it back together, all I need to do is just line up the hinge on the rear dust cover, and then you line it up in the front and you just push back the front trunnion pin. One really cool thing I love about Arcturus is they give you a lot of stuff out of the box. So if you guys haven't seen our older videos of the first generation of Arcturus guns, both the M4s and the AKs, we go over on how much extra goodies that they give you out of the box, and this AK12 is no different. So first thing you're gonna notice is that they give you not one, but two magazines. So in the gun right now is Arcturus's 135 to 30 round variable capacity mid-cap magazine, and they give you an extra included 500 round high capacity mag if that's something that you like. Honestly, Arcturus, come here. Just give us 2 mid-cap mags, man. Like, the 2 mid-caps are the way to go. I love the 2 mid-cap system. But anyway, you get 2 magazines. So again, that's value. They give you a little baggie of 3 different hex keys over here. So depending on, depending on what you're taking apart, I believe that these are all the hex keys that you need to actually fully disassemble the gun. They give you, to me, it's a Dean's adapter because this gun is wired to Dean's. Thank you, Arcturus, starting the bean revolution by including beans connectors on all your guns. So great move, but if you're a dinosaur, if you're a boomer and you need Tamiya, they have you covered. And then they also give you a correct... Anyways, before I was really interrupted by the AK12, Arcturus does include out of the box the correct black metal muzzle brake flash hider for the AK12. Not saying that you should do it because legally we cannot encourage you to do it. If you were, by any stretch of the imagination, or even hypothetically, were to remove the orange tip that is legally mandated to come with this gun, if you happen to do it, you will have the option to put this very tasty looking muzzle brake on it. Okay. Other than that, you get a really cool quality control certificate. So you could tell by the handwriting here, somebody manually went and checked this gun to make sure it was up to standard. Very good to see, Arcturus. I hope other airsoft manufacturers start doing this. They give you the manual, of course. You need the manual. No, I'm not kidding. You need the manual. Read the manual. And they give you an ETU MOSFET programming card for your reference if you need to figure out what this MOSFET does. And we're going to get into that. This MOSFET does a ton of stuff. And they give you a ton of swag. Like, they give you like a parent sticker. They give you this really like shiny, like silver, like decal sticker pack, I guess, to decorate your lunchbox with. They give you a fridge magnet. You know, every time you want a tasty beverage or snack in the fridge, you know you're a proud Arcturus owner. And they give you a coaster. They give you an Arcturus coaster, which is very interesting. So, like I said, they give you a lot of stuff out of the box. And I think it's pretty cool. Like, they're showing you love as a player. I mean, it's cool, but yeah, a lot of stuff. One last thing I like to point out is that the Arcturus AK12 magazine is not proprietary, which is amazing because the other AK12 on the market, I believe that's the LCT one, that mag is proprietary. I know in real life, I think the AK12 magazine is also proprietary, not with the AK12 from Arcturus though. You can actually use standard Airsoft TM spec AK magazines if you want to, but also conversely, you can use the AK12 magazine on other Airsoft AKs. With all the pleasantries out of the way, you're probably dying to know what's inside of the Arcturus AK12 PE. Well, for starters, Arcturus is going with a Tokyo Marui standard design version 3 gearbox shell. So in theory, you will have the ability to change out all the components inside the gearbox. Not that you should. In fact, do not change out any of the parts in the Arcturus AK12 PE. It is perfect the way it is. For the gear set, they are using a CNC steel 13:1 ratio gear set that is perfectly shimmed like all the other Arcturus guns out there. They're surprisingly well shimmed out of the box. It sounds amazing when the gun shoots. But powering the gear set or powering the gearbox, you have a 25K neodymium magnet motor with a 21 TPA. It just gives you really good trigger response and rate of fire out of the box. They are also using a new mechanically adjustable AK trigger. You don't see that every day. So you can lengthen or shorten the trigger pull to your heart's desire. And they are also using the new Arcturus rotary style hop-up unit for AK. So no more little guess and check little dial thing. Now you have a very nice clicky tactile rotary wheel that you can use to dial in your hop-up. They have their signature 6.02 millimeter inner barrel, as well as using a newly designed Perrin MOSFET for this AK12. A couple other cool features about the AK12 PE from Arcturus is that it comes with a true quick change spring system. So all you need to do is fold the stock over. That'll reveal the end cap for the spring rod. And then you can take a flathead screwdriver, or you could even remove this adjustable gas block thing. And that's actually a tool that Arcturus gives you to specifically remove the end cap for the spring rod. And that's really cool because you don't have to take apart the gun at all. You just need to fold the stock. And you can pretty much change out the spring to meet any FPS requirements for your local airsoft field. One thing that I find a little wonky about the AK12, which is also true to real life, is that the Arcturus AK12 PE comes with a 2-round burst feature. So in traditional AK fashion, if your selector is all the way up, that's on safe. You do a half click down, that'll be full auto. And then where semi-automatic would be, that's where your 2-round burst feature is. And then if you select past where semi would be, the selector does overhang a little bit past the receiver, but that's your semi. So you have 4 different modes, fire modes, I guess, for the AK12, which is pretty cool. And hey, 2-round burst is pretty sick. Okay, let's talk about the trigger real quick on the AK12 PE. Like I said before, it is mechanically adjustable for the length of trigger pull. And the way that you would do that is, unfortunately, you will have to take the gearbox out of the main body of the gun. Thankfully, it's a lot easier to do on an AK than it is on an M4. And right above the trigger, you're gonna see a little dial, a rotating dial that's secured by a Phillips head screwdriver. So all you need to do is just loosen the Phillips head enough to where you can move the dial around, and you basically get to play around with how long or short you want the trigger pull to be. And once you're at a happy level, you just lock it off by tightening down the Phillips head screwdriver, and then you've adjusted your AK12 trigger pull. However, out of the box, I'd have to say that the trigger is pretty short for an AK, very short for an AK. So you might be pretty happy with it is out of the box, but if you want to make the adjustments, you can. Okay, let's talk about the Perrin MOSFET in the AK12, and let me tell you, it is rich. It is chock full of features. So I'm gonna go over the alternative firing modes first. So out of the box, the gun is gonna come with full auto, 2-round burst, and semi, which is pretty sick. However, if you want to change that, all you need to do is move the selector really quickly from the 2-round burst to semi, really quick like this a few times, and then the gun's gonna yell at you. And when it yells at you, you're gonna look inside the trigger and you're gonna see a green LED appear. That's the firing mode selector. If you press the trigger once, it's gonna take you to mode 1, which basically will give you semi-automatic where semi would be, and then on the 2-round burst feature, it's gonna be binary, and then you'll have full auto. If you press the trigger again, it'll give you mode 2, and mode 2 will give you semi, binary, and then instead of full auto, you get a 3-round burst. And then you press the trigger for a 3rd time, it's gonna give you full semi-lock. And then if you want to recycle back to the stock mode, you press the trigger a 4th time, and then the gun is back to its normal stock configuration. Once you've selected the firing mode that you like out of the AK12, you can pretty much toggle back and forth between the 2-round burst and the semi function really quickly. The gun will yell at you and you'll be out of the programming mode. And for 90% of the airsofters out there, myself included, that's as far as we ever need to go. But if you really want to squeeze all the performance out of the AK12 PE, Perrin gives you the programming card here, giving you instructions on how to access all the different modes and features that the MOSFET offers. And just to give you the lowdown, you can adjust the level of active braking on the gun, the level of pre-cocking on the gun. You could even reduce the rate of fire, which I don't know why you'd want that, but it's there. It'll also allow you to electronically adjust the sensitivity of the trigger because this is an optical MOSFET. Perrin allows you to do that. You can also set a LiPo protection mode where the gun will pretty much yell at you if your battery starts to die, so that way you don't kill the battery on the field. And you can do a full factory reset if you completely forgot about everything you've done and you want to start all over. You can do that. What a mouthful. But one feature that I will use and I do like is the fact that if you put the gun on semi and you hold the trigger down for more than 2 seconds, the gun will automatically fully decompress and reset the spring, so you don't have to worry about long-term spring wear. The Arcturus AK12 PE chronos in at around 390 to 400 feet per second using a 0.2 gram BB and has a rate of fire of 21 to 23 BBs per second using an 11.1 LiPo. Oh man, those internal specs took a lot out of me. Did you know that took me like over 10 takes to get that right? They just put so many features into this gun. But with that being said, you're probably dying to see how this thing performs. So I am dying to shoot this thing. Let's go shoot it. Okay guys, we're out here at the range with the new Arcturus AK12 PE. And just from the looks of it guys, just me holding it, it's just such a nice, ruggedly simple gun. You know, like nowadays you see a lot of airsofters out there with like the Zenico style or like the Z style AKs, which, you know, they look cool too, but it becomes quickly like the Mark 18, you know, Russian Mark 18 version of the AK. But there's like a nice rugged simplicity to this AK12. I got that nice new polymer magazine here loaded up with BBs, .30 gram BBs, we go heavyweight. As you can hear, there's a lot of wind going on, so you want a heavier gram BB. 11.1 lipo in here, downrange, 200 feet. There's the man's ass target. I mean, you know how we do it. So why don't we just give this a quick test fire and see how she does. Okay, first of all, the trigger on this thing is fantastic. It's the shortest trigger pull and the most sensitive trigger on a stock AK I've ever felt. I mean, this thing just goes. Like, there's like, you know, like M4 triggers tend to be a lot shorter, a lot more snappier out of the box, and this AK does that exactly. And let me tell you, the range, I mean, it's getting out there. Like, it's easily like starting to slightly overhop .30 gram BBs. Man, I really wonder what it will be like if you ran like .40s or something in here, you know? Yeah, that's sick. Okay, I'm gonna go 2-round burst. Oh, dude, the 2-round burst is sick. I love the little cadence you can do with it. Yeah, wow, I think I just ran through the entire mag like that. Okay, I'm gonna fill it up and let's try it one more time. New mag, well, same mag, new BBs. And I'm gonna just do let's do a full auto mag dump. Let's check out that rate of fire. Dude, you hear that? It's a hose. Holy crap. This thing cycles so fast. Again, it's probably one of the best stock AKs I've ever held in my hands. And let me tell you, also, this pistol grip and the polymer handguard is so comfortable to hold. Like, I could keep this up all day and not be fatigued.
All right, I want to shoot this a little bit, see if all the hype that you're giving it is true. Oh wow, yeah, the trigger is really like right up to the pull. That's like a hair trigger. That's crazy. Out of the box too, that's crazy. Woo! This feels so nice. Okay, I gotta do the full auto too. Let's just do this. Yo, that's crazy. Out of the box. All right, I'm gonna keep this one.
Hey,
I'm taking this one
home. It's not ours.
All right, see ya.
The Arcturus AK12 PE is retailing for $470 at airsoftgi.com, and do not forget to use the Wombo Combo for the best savings in Airsoft. Honestly, I'm not really surprised at the price tag. Like, there was no way that Arcturus would offer this level of AK performance for under that $400 price tag. And if you're looking for a high-end AK, you got other brands like E&L or LCT that offer AKs at around the same price point as this AK12, but you do not get nearly as much performance out of the box as you do with the Arcturus. And quite honestly, I'd even say that this is
pretty good. Kind
of a good deal, because you're already getting all these upgrades out of the box and you're gonna be outperforming other AKs that are priced similarly, again, out of the box. Thank you guys so much for checking out our review of the new Arcturus AK12 PE. Right now is actually a very exciting time for Arcturus because they have just informed us that they're planning on giving the same internal treatment of the AK12 to all the rest of their product line. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Now, if you guys like what you see, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We are trying to gun for that 1 milli spot on YouTube. And if you want to help keep the lights on, help keep the camera rolling, please make sure to support us directly by going to Airsoft GI for all your airsoft needs. This is Boaz, and I'll see you next time.